So that's it now. We have come to the end of our informative writing video series. You are on the last and final part of your writing. You just need to put on an introduction and a conclusion to be done. That means you have already watched the video and read the articles on how to make a mummy. You're an expert on how to make a mummy. You took some notes and you turned those notes into 2 paragraphs. Those 2 paragraphs are called the body of your essay. Now we're going to write the introduction and the conclusion. An introduction paragraph and a conclusion paragraph, they parallel each other. They are very, very similar to each other. In fact, you're going to find yourself repeating some of the words. The introduction tells the reader what you're going to say, and it orients them to get ready to take in new information. On the other hand, the conclusion tells the readers what you just said and reminds them of the main points. So you want to send your readers away with a mic drop moment. Boom. So they feel like you're done. So let's just get into it. An introduction has 4 main parts. You hook your reader in. You give one sentence that's very interesting so they're compelled to read the rest of your essay. Then, once you have their interest, you write a second sentence, a general statement about what you're generally talking about. In this case, we are generally talking about ancient Egypt, or we're generally talking about mummies. Then you get a specific topic statement. We are talking about how to wrap a mummy. You get very specific on what you're talking about. And then you summarize how your paragraphs look. So if your first paragraph is the first part of the process, then you would say something like, my first paragraph is about the first step, right? So you're just saying how your paragraphs are. So let's just start off with the hooks. A good hook would sound like this. Read this hook to yourself and ask yourself, would I be interested to read more? Go ahead and read this. If that is interesting for you, then go ahead and use that hook. But if you're like, dude, that's boring, then you need to write a better hook. This hook is a little better. See, that's interesting to me. This sentence right here is very interesting to me. I want to know how other cultures do it. But maybe that's not a good hook for you. I don't know. Maybe you're a picky kind of person. Okay, what about this as a hook? This next hook is actually 2 sentences. Tell me if this would be intriguing enough for you to finish the article. It's simple. It's to the point. It's a question. A question is a good way to hook somebody. Either way, you go write a good hook, and then you come up with a general statement. A general statement sounds like this. Different cultures do different things with their dead. So now your reader knows, okay, so we're talking about dead people here. Okay, I have an idea of what you're talking about. Or you could get, a little more specific talking about mummies, but you're still general. Everyone's curious about mummies. Everyone's curious how mummies came to be. That's good. That's good. Another nice general thing, but with some fancy vocabulary, is this one here. Look at this general statement. The main point here is you want a sentence to hook your reader, and then you want a sentence that's a general statement. But then now you got to get a little more specific. Specifically, what are you talking about when you're talking about dead people? Specifically, what are you talking about mummies? I need to get more specific. So now your third sentence could sound like this. This essay will tell you all the steps of ancient Egyptian mummification. Like, that's real specific. Or you could sound like this. Today you will learn how ancient mummies were created. Perfect. Here's a third example. Maybe you like this one better. I like to give lots of examples so you know what I'm talking about. So yours could be even better than what I produce. Okay, the last sentence in your introduction is a paragraph summary. You have to tell your reader, what do your paragraphs look like coming up? What can they expect to read coming next? So you could sound like this. First, you'll learn about what happens immediately after death, and then what happens after the body dried out. You see how I told my 2 paragraphs in a sentence there? It's like I summarized my paragraphs. Here's another example. Read this one to yourself. So you're going to pause the video now, and you're going to write your own hook. You're going to attract the attention of your reader so they're compelled to read more. Your second sentence is going to be a general statement. What is this about? What are you talking about in your essay? The third sentence is going to be a topic statement. What is this really about? Get a little more specific. And finally, your fourth sentence is going to be a paragraph summary. You're going to give a sentence about the order of the paragraphs coming next. Go ahead and pause the video here and write those 4 sentences. Now that you have the introduction done, go all the way to the very end of your whole writing. So now you have 3 paragraphs. You have an introduction, you have 2 paragraphs of the body, and now you're going to the conclusion. Because see, a conclusion takes the introduction, but is the opposite. So I take hooking your reader, and I take that and I turn it into a mic drop as the very last sentence. And then I take the general statement and I put that right before the mic drop. I take the topic sentence, I put that. You see how it's in opposite order in the conclusion? A beautiful conclusion would sound just like this. Read this. Here's another example of a good conclusion. Read this one too. You see a pattern here? The pattern that I like is my mic drop is a question. So if you wanted to add your own mic drop, I have some room here at this next example for your own mic drop. What to do with the souls? That's a pretty good mic drop because now the person's intrigued. They're like, oh, I didn't think about that. If you can get your reader to be thinking about your writing when they're already done reading it, if they're still thinking about your writing a few days afterwards, man, you're a great writer. Like that's what you want as a writer, for people to still be thinking about your ideas. So you can add something very profound at the end. What do they do with the souls? What do they do with the gold? They bury their dead with a lot of riches. And they also bury their dead with a lot of their pets. What did they do with the cats? Is that something that you're going to be thinking about for a long time afterwards? That'd be a good mic drop. You can put any word in a question, and now your reader is compelled to be thinking about it still. That is a great conclusion. So, overall, first you write 2 paragraphs about the process. In our example here, we've had at least 5 sentences in the first paragraph, the body, the first steps. Then in our second paragraph, we had like 14 sentences. That's pretty good. Unless you got fancy and used some textual evidence, in which case you got like 16 sentences in that second paragraph. That's pretty good. But then you went back and you added an introduction, which was like 4 sentences. You throw a conclusion on the end, which repeats a lot of the same information from an introduction, and that's about 4 sentences too. And then you do the hardest part, which is you add with a really good mic drop. Boom. And that's it. That is a beautiful 4-paragraph essay about sequential writing, and you learn something about ancient Egyptians along the way. You are now officially done, and I need you to go ahead and click Turn In your little Google Classroom. All right? Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for sticking me with the end. I know that you produce some great writing from this.